Step 7. This is going to be actually gluing your table together. Step 6, all we did was just number off the legs and the sides and back so we knew how to set everything up. Now we're going to actually glue it together with our biscuit jointer. It says, use the biscuit jointer to cut a slot into the ends of your 2 sides and 1 back. Be sure to clamp your boards down tight to the table and line up the center line with the biscuit jointer with the line on that. You've already used the biscuit jointer before. You should know how to do this. We're doing the same thing like we did your D-ring. We're just gluing it together using some biscuits. There's lots of different types of joints we could do to put legs to the side, but the biscuit jointer works really quickly, so we're going to do that. I want you to clamp your boards down to the bench so nice and tight so they're not going to fall. Get one of the hand screw clamps and clamp that down nice and tight so it doesn't move on us when we use that biscuit jointer. You should have your center lines already drawn from the previous step so we can see those center lines there. Get that clamp nice and tight. We'll just go with the biscuit jointer, both sides of this, and just cut that slot. Both ends here, and do this to all your sides and your back. It goes fairly quickly. Just get those biscuited on both ends there. Get our back here next. Clamp that down and biscuit that out. Same thing with your last side. Next, it says, clamp your leg down tight near the thickest part of your leg and have the center line mark showing. Place a leg spacer board next to your leg and have the biscuit jointer sit on top of the spacer board. When we're doing a biscuit joint in the leg, it's a little bit thicker than your sides and your back. We want that biscuit slot to still be centered. And if we just put the biscuit jointer next to the leg and cut into it, it's going to cut your slot a little bit low, and we want it centered. So all I've done is just made a little spacer board, and I keep these in the tool cabinet over by the tape measures. You'll see these there. So you're clamping your leg down so you can see your center mark, and it said clamp it to the thickest part of the board. So you're going to clamp it here, not over here near that small part. If you clamp it here, your leg doesn't sit tight. So we want to have that leg sit nice and tight when we clamp this. So clamp it nice and tight, make sure there's no gap underneath. Then take your spacer next to your leg. So now when our biscuit jointer goes on here, it just sits on top of the spacer and you can line it up with our little center line. Now we can see that that slot got cut right in the center of our leg, lined up with our line. So it says use a biscuit jointer to cut a slot in your legs where you transfer the center line. 2 of your legs will have only 1 slot cut and the other 2 will have 2 slots cut. And I've had so many students accidentally cut more slots than what they need. So be careful not to cut too many. If you look on your legs, this one I see my center line right here. But as I turn it, I don't see any other center lines. So this one only is going to have 1 slot cut. Whereas this one that I just cut, I've got 1 slot. I cut that already. But if I rotate this, I see another line, so now I'm going to have another slot on this one. So 2 of your legs, 2 slots, 2 of your legs, and you have 1 slot. So just be aware on which part of your leg you're cutting that slot into. And you always want to have that center line facing up so you can see that. Spacer next to it, cut your slot. So that one's good. I only needed 1 on that one. I'm going to finish getting the second one cut on here. Clamp my leg down. Spacer next to it. Line that up. Try to keep your biscuit jointer straight when you're cutting that in. Don't twist it at all, otherwise you're going to get your slot at an angle. So we want those slots to be nice and straight. Those 2 are done. We're going to quickly do these last ones here. Let's see, I only have 1 mark on this one, so just 1 slot. one more leg. This one I have 2 marks, so I want to get both my slots cut on this one. Gotta flip my leg around so my mark's facing the side I want to put the biscuit joint in. Okay. Next, after we got all the slots cut on our legs, and we've also got the slots cut on our sides and back. Looking on our green paper again, it says, before gluing your legs to your sides and back, make sure you have all your clamps, your glue, wet paper towel, everything ready to go. We want to make sure we have all your supplies out. If you just start gluing and then you try to look for clamps and all the clamps are being used, you're going to be in trouble. So get all your stuff ready to go. Got my glue, got my biscuits, got my clamps, wet paper towel, everything's out here ready to go so I don't have to worry about it. I found it's easiest, if you look here, number 6 says place glue in the biscuit slot and on the end of the board and wipe it around so it covers the whole thing. Don't just put glue in the slot only. You've got to put it on the whole end and smear it around the whole entire end when you're gluing this. A little bit in the slot, and you got to get the whole end of that board covered too, and spread that around so there's no dry spot. The whole end of that board needs to be covered in glue. You're going to take your biscuit, slide it in there. If any of that glue squeezes out, just kind of spread it around so it covers the whole thing. We're going to get the other side as well, a little bit in the slot. Spread the rest around the whole outside, but get that so it covers the whole edge of that board so there's no dry spot. I've had so many people only put glue just in the little biscuit slot and then it doesn't hold as well, so you want to get the whole end of your board. There we go. It says use a bar clamp to clamp your side and 2 legs together. Lay your boards flat on the table when clamping, making sure that your legs stay straight. When clamping, be sure that your top of your leg and the top of your side line up flush, and wipe up any wet glue with wet paper towel. It's easiest to do this in sections. Don't try to do your whole table all in one massive glue up assembly. Try to do it just in a small section at a time. I've got number 1 and number 2, so I need to find leg 1 and leg 2. Found leg 1, that's going to go there, and leg 2 is going to go here. So we want to glue that as one section. And then we can glue our other 2 legs and our other side as another section. Don't try to glue everything all at once. Alright. We also need glue in the slot of your leg. So don't forget to put glue there as well. And work quickly. You remember how much time we have about before this starts to set up? About 5 minutes, right? So a little bit on the side there, and that'll fit in here.
Bless you.
A little bit here. In the slot, a little bit on the side. Don't cover the whole entire leg because you're only covering the part that the board's going to sit up against. So just a little bit of glue on there.
What?
Make sure you've matched your numbers back up so we have everything facing the right way, your rabbet joints facing the correct direction. And like I said, it's easiest to do this flat on the table. When you're clamping this together,
Oh, you want me to take it over?
when you're clamping this together, we don't want those legs to go crooked at all. So try to keep them flat and straight. Line up the top so it's flush on the top. If your side starts to droop down a little bit or stick up too high, you got to make sure the top of that's nice and flush or even on both sides when you clamp this as well. Get those nice and flush, straight, legs flat on the table. And you take your bar clamp and you can clamp this down. It might be easy to have people help you too. So you want to hold those legs down flat, tight while you put some pressure on here. If anything starts to go crooked or not line up right, release some of the pressure and move things around because that one was sliding on me a little bit. Get everything lined up. Nice and tight. So if you look down these legs, you want to make sure that these legs are straight, they're not going crooked or anything. Those look pretty good. If you get any gaps or anything else like that, you might have to readjust your clamp. And then don't forget to wipe up any glue that squoze out anywhere so we don't have any of that glue there. Inside, outside, get it all wiped up. Real nice and tight. How long do we have to leave the clamp on for?
30 minutes.
At least 30 minutes, right? Now these legs sometimes need a little bit more time, just letting you know. So at least 30 minutes, you can set it aside to dry underneath the bench or out of the way somewhere. Make sure your name is on it. I find so many of them sitting around with no names. Get your name on it. It says, next, it says, repeat steps 5 through 9 for the other side and legs. So you'll have to do the same exact thing. You're going to have to get glue in the slot here. Spread it all around. Glue in this slot. Spread it all around. Get the biscuits in there. Get your legs. Line them up where they need to go. 6 with 6. 5 with 5. With the biscuits. You're going to glue that up as well. Same exact way. Lay it down. Get that glued up and dry. Once those two are dry, it says, when both sides have dried and glued, glue and clamp the back on. Be sure that all your legs stay straight while clamping your table together. This is probably the hardest part. Once you get both sections glued up, it's getting your back glued into place and keeping everything straight. You just want to make sure, again, when you're clamping it, nothing goes crooked or squampus or anything like that. So make sure it's lined up straight. Once you get it all glued up, the whole table, get my signature on there. It'll be good to go. Again, at least 30 minutes. Don't take those clamps off early, and get your name on it, please. All right, thank you. You guys can go to work.